and welcome back to my channel. It has been a while, but I am finally back. It's Voice of Persona ASMR. I'm happy to be back with all of you. And today we are going to kick the year off with our first facts video. It's the first fact video of the year, and so as such, we are going to be reading facts that are fun, interesting, and are pretty much about everything you can think of. So there is no theme. It's just a general mishmash of different topics. And I hope you enjoy. Without further ado, let us begin. McDonald's once made bubblegum flavored broccoli. That probably did not go over well, I would imagine. Yeah, I mean, kids are not going to eat broccoli regardless of what it tastes like if they don't like it already. They already associate it with a bad taste. I'm just saying. Some fungi create zombies, then control their minds. Of course, this is about ants. They infect their ants' central nervous system. It's a fungus called Ophiocordyceps. And by the time the fungi has been in the insect's body for 9 days, they have complete control over the host's movement. Now, there's a scary thought there. Apparently, they force the ants to climb trees, then convulse and fall into the cool, moist soil below, where the fungi thrive. So, ants can become zombies, is what I'm learning from this. The first oranges weren't orange. No, they were not. They were actually green. In fact, oranges in warmer regions, like Vietnam and Thailand, still stay green through maturity. There's only one letter that doesn't appear in any U.S. state name. That is, you'll find a Z in Arizona, a J in New Jersey, and even 2 X's in New Mexico and Texas, but you won't find a single Q. A cow-bison hybrid is called a beefalo. You can even buy its meat in at least 21 states in the U.S. Interesting. I didn't even know that was the thing. Johnny Appleseed's fruits weren't for eating. Yes, there was a real John Chapman who planted thousands of apple trees on U.S. soil, but the apples on those trees weren't much more bitter than the ones you'd find in the supermarket today. Scotland has 421 words for snow. Yes, that's 421. Some examples: sneasel, to start raining or snowing; feefle, to swirl; flink drinkin', a light snow. There you go. Samsung tests phone durability with a butt-shaped robot. Do these interesting facts have you rethinking everything? People stash their phones in their back pockets all the time, which is why Samsung created a robot that is shaped like a butt. And yes, even wears jeans to sit on their phone to make sure they can take the pressure. The Windy City name has nothing to do with Chicago weather. Chicago's nickname was coined by 19th century journalists who were referring to the fact that its residents were windbags and full of hot air. I actually didn't know that. That's pretty funny. Peanuts aren't technically nuts. They're legumes. According to Merriam-Webster, a nut is only a nut if It's a hard-shelled dry fruit or seed with a separate rind or shell and interior kernel. Interesting. That means walnuts, almonds, cashews, and pistachios aren't nuts either. They're seeds. Armadillo shells are bulletproof. In fact, one Texas man was hospitalized when a bullet he shot at an armadillo ricocheted off of the animal and hit him in the jaw. Firefighters use wetting agents to make water wetter. The chemicals reduce the surface tension of plain water, so it's easier to spread and soak into objects, which is why it's known as wet water. The longest English word is 189,819 letters long. It's probably something sciencey, right? We won't spell it out here, though you can read it here. But the full name for the protein nicknamed Titan would take 3.5 hours to say out loud. Running amok is a medically recognized medical condition. Considered a culturally bound syndrome, a person running amok in Malaysia commits a sudden, frenzied mass attack, then begins to brood. Octopuses lay 56,000 eggs at a time. The mother spends 6 months so devoted to protecting the eggs that she doesn't eat. The babies are the size of a grain of rice when they're born. That's cute. Cats have fewer toes on their back paws. Like most four-legged mammals, they have 5 toes on the front, but their back paws only have 4 toe beans. Scientists think the 4-toe back paws might help them run faster. Do you know any other fun facts about cats? Well, yes, I do actually. Their whiskers extend this way so that it can help them sense things in the distance, or something of that nature. It's to help them sense danger, basically, is what I'm saying. Kleenex tissues were originally intended for gas masks. Blue whales eat 500,000 calories in one mouthful. That tiny pocket in jeans was designed to store pocket watches. The original jeans only had 4 pockets, that tiny one plus 2 more on the front, and just 1 in the back. That's good to know. I just wondered what that was for. A pocket watch. I always felt like it was kind of like a pointless sort of pocket to have. Like, what's the point if we don't use it? But that makes a lot of sense now. When turkeys are scared or excited, like when the males see a female, they're interested in the pale skin on their head and neck turns bright red, blue, or white. In other words, turkeys can blush. That's cute. Most Disney characters wear gloves to keep animation simple. While Disney might have been the first to put gloves on his characters, as seen in 1929's The Opry House starring Mickey Mouse. In addition to being easier to animate, there's another reason Disney opted for gloves. We didn't want him to have mouse hands because he was supposed to be more human, Disney told his biographer in 1957. The man with the world's deepest voice can make sounds humans can't hear. The man, Tim Storms, can't even hear the note, which is 8 octaves below the lowest G on a piano, but elephants can. The current American flag was designed by a high school student. It started as a school project for Bob Heft's junior history class, and it only earned a B- in 1958. His design had 50 stars, even though Alaska and Hawaii weren't states yet. Heft figured the two would earn statehood soon and showed the government his design. After President Dwight D. Eisenhower called to say his design was approved, Heft's teacher changed his grade to an A. Psh, of course they did. Afterwards, cows don't have upper front teeth. They do molars in the top back of their mouths, though, where you'd expect upper incisors. Cows, sheep, and goats have a thick layer of tissue called a dental pad. They use that with their bottom teeth to pull out grass. Thanks to 3D printing, NASA can basically email tools to astronauts. If only a quarter of the Sahara Desert is sandy, most of it is covered in gravel. Bananas grow upside down, or technically, we peel them upside down. There were active volcanoes on the moon when dinosaurs were alive. Most of the volcanoes probably stopped 1 billion years ago, but new NASA findings suggests there might still have been active lava flow 100 million years ago when dinosaurs were still roaming the earth. Dogs sniff good smells with their left nostril. Dogs normally start sniffing with their right nostril, then keep it there if the smell could signal danger, but they'll shift to the left side for something more pleasant like food or a mating partner. Avocados were named after reproductive organs. Indigenous people of Mexico and Central America use the Nahuatl word ahocatl to mean both testicles and avocado. The fruits were originally marketed as alligator pears in the United States until the current name stuck. The word fizzle started as a type of fart. In the 1400s, it meant to break wind quietly, according to English Oxford Living Dictionaries. You only have two body parts that never stop growing. Human noses and ears keep getting bigger even when the rest of the body's growth has come to a halt. Really, that's interesting. I always wondered why old people have such big ears. Is that weird? Like, I've always looked at old people and thought to myself, I don't know if that old man's head is small or his ears are big, but it looks like his ears are big. I'm just saying. So that explains it. We will all be like that at some point. You only have to, that's the same one. No number before 1000 contains the letter A. The number symbol, the hashtag symbol, the pound symbol, isn't officially called hashtag or pound. Its technical name is octothorpe. The octo means 8 to refer to its points, though reports disagree on where thorpe come from. The French have their own name for a French kiss. This interesting fact doesn't date that far back. The word hasn't been around for long. In 2014, galosher, meaning to kiss with tongues, was added to the Petit Robert French Dictionary. You can thank the Greeks for calling Christmas Xmas. In Greek, the word Christ starts with the letter G, which looks like an X in the Roman alphabet. Movie trailers originally played after the movie. They trailed the feature film, hence the name. The first trailer appeared in 1912 and was for a Broadway show, not a movie. I kind of wish that it stayed that way, although I understand why it's not, because most people probably would just leave. Mercedes invented a car controlled by a joystick. The joystick in the 1966 Mercedes F200 showcase car controlled speed and direction, replacing both the steering wheel and pedals. The car could also sense which side the driver was sitting in, so someone could control it from the passenger seat. Very cool, very cool. The US government saved every public tweet from 2006 through 2017. Starting in 2018, the Library of Congress decided to only keep tweets on a very selective basis, including elections and those dealing with something of national interest like public policy. Theodore Roosevelt had a pet hyena. Its name was Bill and was a present from the Ethiopian emperor. Roosevelt was famous for his many pets, including a one-legged rooster, a badger, and a pony, and a small bear. I swear, Theodore Roosevelt was probably one of the most badass presidents that ever existed, in my opinion. Captain Crunch. Crunch's full name is Horatio Magellan Crunch. It's very dignified. He's also been called out for only having the bars of a Navy commander, but the so-called captain held his ground on Twitter, arguing that captaining the SS Gubby with his crews makes it an official captain in any book. The CIA headquarters has its own Starbucks, but baristas don't write names on the cups. Its receipts say store number 1 instead of Starbucks, and its workers need an escort to leave their work posts. Giraffe tongues can be 20 inches long. There's only one U.S. state capital without a McDonald's. Montpelier, Vermont doesn't have any of those golden arches. It also happens to have the smallest population of any state capital, with 7,500 residents. Europeans were scared of eating tomatoes when they were first introduced. Scholars think Hernan Cortez brought the seeds in 1519 with the intent of the fruits being used ornamentally in gardens. By the 1700s, aristocrats started eating tomatoes, but they were convinced the fruits were poison because people would die after eating them. In reality, the acidity from the tomatoes brought out lead in their pewter plates, so they'd die of lead poisoning. Interesting. Humans aren't the only animals that dream. Studies have indicated rats dream about getting to food or running through mazes. Most mammals go through REM sleep, the cycle in which dreams occur, so scientists think there's a good chance that they all dream. The inventor of the microwave appliance only received $2 for his discovery. Percy Spencer was working as a researcher for American appliance company, now Raytheon, when he noticed a radar set using electromagnetic waves melted the candy bar in his pocket. He had the idea to make a metal box using microwaves to heat food, but the company was the one to file the patent. He received a $2 bonus, but never any royalties. Damn, that guy got screwed over so badly. He should be a multi-millionaire by now. Because I use the microwave all the time. It's a magnificent invention, if you ask me. We all use it. The Eiffel Tower can grow more than 6 inches during the summer. The high temperature makes the iron expand. Creature is a vegetarian. Victor Frankenstein's Creature is actually a vegetarian. Frankenstein and Creature are fictional characters created by Mary Shelley in her novel Frankenstein. In the novel, Creature says, "My food is not of man. I do not destroy the lamb, and the kid to glut my appetite. Acorns and berries afford me sufficient nourishment." Medical errors are a top cause of death. According to Johns Hopkins research team, 250,000 deaths in the U.S. are caused by medical error each year. This makes medical error the third leading cause of deaths in the country. Sloths have more neck bones than giraffes. Bees can fly higher than Mount Everest. Ancient Egyptians used dead mice to ease toothaches. In ancient Egypt, people put a dead mouse in their mouth if they had a toothache. Interesting. According to Nathan Belovsky's book, Strange Medicine, A Shocking History of Real Medical Practices Through the Age, mice were also used as a warts remedy during Elizabethan England. Very, very interesting. Paint used to be stored in pig's bladder. Pig's bladders were used in the 19th century to store an artist's paint. The bladder would be sealed with a string and then pricked to get the paint out. This option wasn't the best because it would often break open. American painter John G. Rand was the innovator who made paint tubes from tin and screw cap in the 19th century. Terminator script was sold for $1. James Cameron is the award-winning director of movies like Titanic, Avatar, and The Terminator. In order to get his big break with The Terminator, he sold the script for $1 and a promise that he'd be able to direct. Pigeon poop is the property of the British Crown. In the 18th century, pigeon poop was used to make gunpowder. So King George I confirmed the droppings to be the property of the crown. I had no idea you could use pigeon poop to make gunpowder. That's pretty cool. Very interesting. Onions were found in the eyes of an Egyptian mummy. Pharaoh Ramses IV of ancient Egypt had his eyes replaced with small onions when he was mummified. The rings and layers of onions were worshipped because people thought they represented eternal life. This aligns with the reason for mummification, to allow the pharaoh's body to live forever. Abraham Lincoln was a bartender. You know that the 16th president of the United States fought for freedom of slaves and the Union, but what you didn't know is that he was a licensed bartender. Lincoln's liquor license was developed in 1930 and displayed in a Springfield liquor store. Wayne C. Temple, a Lincoln expert, told the Southeast Missourian newspaper that in 1863, Congress wanted to fire Ulysses S. Grant because he drank a lot, and Lincoln's response was to send Grant a supply of whiskey. Beethoven never knew how to multiply or divide. Ludwig van Beethoven is arguably one of the greatest composers in musical history. The renowned pianist went to a Latin school called Tirocinium. There he learned some math, but never multiplication or division, only addition. Once, when he needed to multiply 62 by 50, he wrote down 62. He wrote 62 down a line 50 times and added it all up. Well, it never doesn't seem like he ever needed it. To be honest, he did just fine. That's a pretty big moral of that story there, isn't there? That math is probably not necessary for some of us if you're super talented. Japan released sushi-inspired Kit Kats. For a limited time in 2017, Tokyo's Kit Kat Chocolatory shop made 3 types of the chocolate bar that was sushi-inspired, but didn't actually taste like raw fish. The tuna sushi was actually raspberry, the seaweed-wrapped one was pumpkin pudding flavored, and the sea urchin sushi was actually Hokkaido melon with mascarpone cheese flavored. That sounds delicious. All were made with puffed rice, white chocolate, and a bit of wasabi, just a little bit. That sounds good. That sounds really good, actually. An espresso maker was sent into space in 2015. Samantha Cristoforetti is the first female Italian astronaut to get a warm and cozy piece of home sent to her while in orbit. The Italian Space Agency worked with Italian coffee manufacturer Lavazza to get the coffee capsules flown up and out into space. Always need a good cup of coffee, no matter where you are. That's what I always say. The inventor of the tricycle personally delivered 2 of them to Queen Victoria. In 1881, Queen Victoria was on a tour on the Isle of Wight when her horse and carriage could not keep up with a woman riding a tricycle. The Queen made her servants identify the woman so she could demonstrate the tricycle to the Queen. Intrigued by the bike, the Queen proceeded to order 2. She also asked that the inventor James Starley arrive with the delivery. Though you might associate tricycles with toddlers, Queen Victoria made them cool among the elite. That's cool. That's very interesting. No pun intended, but that's cool. Your brain synapses shrink while you sleep. A 2003 study from the University of Wisconsin-Madison Center for Sleep and Consciousness was done on mice to observe what happens to our brains while we sleep. Dr. Chiara Sorelli and Dr. Giulio Tononi found an 18% decrease in the size of the synapses after a few hours of sleep. Don't worry though, your brain shrinking at night actually helps your cognitive abilities. Well, obviously, the whole point of sleeping is to regenerate cells, so you would think that would be the case, that it would be good for us. The first commercial passenger flight lasted only 23 minutes. Taking a 23-minute flight might seem like a waste of money today, but in 1914, Abraham Fiel paid $400, which would be $8,500 today for a 23-minute long plane ride. He flew between St. Petersburg, Florida, and Tampa, Florida, where only 25 miles of water separate the cities. Fiel, a former mayor of St. Petersburg, and pilot Tony Janus were the only passengers. This momentous flight paved the way for air travel as we know it. A woman called the police when her ice cream didn't have enough sprinkles. Seems rather dramatic, doesn't it? The West Midlands Police in England released a recording of a woman who called 999, the UK version of 911. I actually didn't know they had a different version of 911. You learn something new every day. I learned a fact within a fact. But anyway, the UK version of 911, because there were bits on one side and none on the other. She says in the recording she was even more upset when the ice cream truck man did not want to give her money back. That's incredibly dramatic. Uncle Ben's rice was airdropped to World War II troops. German chemist Erich Husenlaub invented a process of parboiling rice to keep more nutrients in the rice and lessen the cooking time. The Husenlaub process had another unexpected benefit too. It stopped bug infestations. The quick cook bug-free rice was a big advantage during World War II, and converted rice, as it was known then, was airdropped to American and British troops. After the war, the company rebranded to Uncle Ben's Original Converted Bread Rice, named after one of the company's best rice suppliers. And the product hit the shelves in 1947. Let's make this one the last one, guys. The British Empire was the largest empire in world history. According to the World Atlas, an empire is a group of nations or people that are under the rule of a powerful government or an emperor of a territory usually larger than a kingdom. The British Empire was the most powerful in the 1920s when it ruled over 23% of the world's population. That equates to about 13 million square miles. That's pretty cool. I had no idea it was that recent. I thought it was a much, much longer time ago. Obviously, 1920 was over 100 years ago, but I thought it was like 200 years ago that the British Empire was the strongest entity in the world, but apparently it was as soon as the 1920s, which is cool. But that's it, guys. That's going to be it for me tonight. This is a very long list, so we can revisit it and pick off some more facts in a future video, but as always, I hope you guys learned something and enjoyed and felt relaxed in the process, you know? Hope your 2021 has started off good so far. We're only a month in, but things seem to be okay for the year, I would say, and I hope that for you personally it's going well. As always, I'm always here if you want to just chat or whatever. You can just comment on one of my videos. I respond most often. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good night, and I will see you in the next video, my friends.